We continue now at the top of Daf Lamed Gimel Amud Beis in Meseches Eruvin. This is Eruvin Daf 33b. The Gemara had previously quoted Rebbe's opinion. Rebbe said that if you place the Eruv above 10 tfachim from the ground in the tree, so then, and assuming the tree is 4 tfachim wide, the Gemara had said that's a problem because if you are making your shvisa in Rosh Hashanah and the Eruv, the food that you're using for the Eruv is up there in the tree, which is in Rosh Hashanah, it's going to be a problem because you're not going to be able to bring the food to where your makam shvisa is, to where you're making the residence. But the problem was that Rebbe also had said that if you put it in a basket in that same location, in a basket that's attached to the tree, suddenly it's fine. So the Gemara had asked, well, what's the difference? If it's 4 tfachim wide and 10 tfachim high, it's still a Rosh Hashanah. Why should that be okay? So the Gemara here answers, V'Rebbe savar lo k'Rebbe Meir, v'savar lo k'Rebbe Yehuda. Rebbe holds like Rebbe Meir, and he holds like Rebbe Yehuda, and that will explain it as follows. Savar lo k'Rebbe Meir da'amar chokakin lahashlim. First of all, he holds like Rebbe Meir. Rebbe Meir holds chokakin lahashlim. In other words, as the Gemara had said on the previous Amud, the basket itself is not 4 tfachim wide, and the tree itself is not 4 tfachim wide. But if you can halachically carve out the area of the branch where the basket is, of the tree, then it will be an area of 4 tfachim wide, the basket and the tree combined. If you hold like Rebbe Meir, chokakin lahashlim, that an area that is solid, we can halachically view it as if it's carved out and say that that counts as part of the width. So it is going to be an area of 4 tfachim wide in that particular case. However, as Rashi explains, even though it's 4 tfachim wide, it is not considered a Rosh Hashanah, because in order to be considered Rosh Hashanah, the 4 tfachim wide has to start from the bottom of the tree. It can't just be at the area where it rests. So Rashi over here says, "V'savar lo k'Rebbe Meir damar gabi kipa b'perakama chokakin lahashlim." Rebbe Meir is the one that says this halach of chokakin lahashlim. Umiu rishos hayachid gemura lo have it. Rashi says it's not a rishos hayachid gemura. Kevan de'ein betachtiso shel ilon rochav daled, because in the bottom of the tree, as Rashi will go on to explain, the bottom means within 3 tfachim of the ground. The bottom of the tree is not 4 wide. It's not 4 tfachim wide. Therefore, it's not going to be considered a rishos hayachid. So fine, that's very good. It's not a rishos hayachid. That's why the eruv is okay. What do you then need? Why do you even need it to be? Why do you even need it to land on an area that's 4 tfachim wide at all? So the Gemara is saying v'savar lo k'Rebbe Yehuda, that Rebbe holds like Rebbe Yehuda, da'amar ba'inon eruv al gabe makom arba v'leka. Rebbe Yehuda holds that there's a general rule: anytime you're placing the eruv above 10 tfachim from the ground, it needs to land on a makom arba. If it's below 10 tfachim from the ground, as Rashi explains, then already it's as if it's on the ground. It's as if it's munach biara, and it doesn't need to be a makom chashav of 4 tfachim. But if you're going to place the eruv more than 10 tfachim off the ground, then already the area it lands on needs to be 4 tfachim. That's why we need chokakin lahashlim. Gemara now says, my Rebbe Yehuda. Where is this Rebbe Yehuda? Again, Rebbe Yehuda holds that you need a makam arba v'leka. You need to have 4 tfachim or else it's no good, and that's why we need to use this chokakin lahashlim. But my Rebbe Yehuda, where did Rebbe Yehuda say this halacha? So the Gemara says, Detanya, because we learned in a brayso. Rebbe Yehuda, Omer Rebbe Yehuda says, Noatz kora b'Rosh Hashanah. Let's say somebody takes a pole and he sticks it into Rosh Hashanah, v'hiniach eruvo aleha, and he places the eruv on top of it, gavoa yud v'rach v'dalad. If the area is 10 tfachim high and 4 tfachim wide, eruvo eruv, then it's a good eruv. V'yim lav ein eruvo eruv, and if not, it's not a good eruv. So the Gemara says, 1 second, if it's below 10 tfachim, that makes it worse. Adarav, in the contrary, huve eruva b'makam echad. Again, if you're assuming that this pole is in a Rosh Hashanah, so if it's below 10 tfachim, then the eruv's in Rosh Hashanah, and he's in Rosh Hashanah. If it's above 10 tfachim, then already you have at least a potential problem that it's Rosh Hashanah. Now, it's actually not a problem, as Rashi explains, because the halacha is wherever your makam shvis is, you get dalet amos, you get 4 amos in every direction. As we said on the previous Amud, that 4 amos is like a Rosh Hashanah. It's not a real Rosh Hashanah, but for the halachas of Eruv, it is like a Rosh Hashanah, and it is Ola Ad L'Rakia. So in reality, if it's above 10 tfachim, it's not a problem either. The only reason it was a problem by the tree, as we said earlier, was because the branch of the tree extends outside of the Dalet Amos. It leaves that area of the Dalet Amos, so you can't apply this idea that the Rosh Hashanah of the Eruv is Ola Ad L'Rakia. The area where you made your Shvisa goes in 4 amos in every direction and goes up to the heavens. You can't apply that. So in terms of the above 10 tfachim, that we can understand already why it's okay. But the problem over here is what's going on. If not, then ein eruv eruv. What does it mean? If it's less than 10 tfachim, that's a problem. Elohachi kamar. So the Gemara says, here's really what Rabbi Yehuda was saying. Gavoa asara, if you're placing the eruv more than 10 tfachim above the ground, tzarich sheyehei barosha arba, then it requires that it lands on an area which is 4 tfachim wide. Ein gavo asara, but if you're placing it less than 10 tefachim high, ein tzarich sheyeh barosh arba. Then already it doesn't need to land on an area which is 4 tefachim wide in that particular case, and that is Rabbi Yehuda who holds again that if it's above 10 tefachim, then you're going to have a problem. Rashi over here says, as I mentioned earlier, eino gavo asara ein tzarich sheyeh roch v'dalid. If it's not 10 tefachim high, it doesn't need to be 4 tefachim wide. The afilu pachos midalid eruvo eruv, even if it's less than 4 tefachim wide, it's okay. The chol lamata me asara keman demancha a'arahi, because anything below 10 tefachim is already as if it is placed on the ground. So that's Rabbi Yehuda's shita, and again, Rabbi holds like Rabbi Meir, and he also holds like Rabbi Yehuda. So the Gemara now says keman. Who does this answer follow? Delo can Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. It does not follow the position of Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda in the following brisa. The Tanya we learned in a brisa. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda says, Noatz kona b'rishus harabim. Somebody plants again a pole in rishus harabim. V'hiniach b'rosho traskel, and he places a basket on top of that pole. V'zorak v'nochal gabav, and then he throws from rishus harabim on top into this basket. Chayev, he is chayev because the basket is considered a rishus hayachid. Now, why should the basket be considered a rishus hayachid in this case? We just said earlier that again you have to have the 4 tefachim wide needs to start from the bottom of the tree. That's what we said above. We said that in the case over here where we applied the chokek and lahashlim in Rebbe's case, where you had the basket on the tree, we said, yeah, that's considered landing on an area that's 4 tefachim wide, but it is not considered rishus hayachid because the 4 tefachim wide doesn't start from the ground or within 3 tefachim of the ground. Here, Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda is saying, even though you have a thin pole and on the top is an area, the basket is 4 tefachim wide, it is still considered a rishus hayachid, even though that 4 tefachim wide did not start from the bottom. So that seems to go against what Rabbi just said. So the Gemara says not necessarily. Afilu teimu Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. You could even say that Rabbi is consistent with Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. Hasam hadron mechitzasa. Over there the mechitzos return. Hachalo hadron mechitzasa. Here the mechitzos do not return. Rashi explains what we mean over here by hadron mechitzos. Rashi says Hasam hadron mechitzos. Hatraskel soveves esakana. According to Rashi, the key is that the basket is surrounding the entire pole. That's different than in the case of the tree. Of Rebbe's case, the basket is just hung up on the tree. It's not surrounding the entire width of the tree. It's not larger than the tree. It's just hung up on the tree. It's sticking. It's attached to the tree. So remember, in the case of the traskel, the pole is in the middle of the basket. And then we say a halacha of gurachis. We halachically lower the walls of the basket. We make it like imaginary halachic walls that go all the way to the bottom, and you have 4 tefachim walls all the way down. It comes out that you have this pole, this kana is completely surrounded by these halachic walls, and it's 4 tvachim wide. It's not a problem. But over here, hachalo hadron mechitzos, meaning the kalkola eino makefes is avyav shel ilan. As Rashi understands it, the basket is not surrounding the entire thickness of the tree. Rashi explains it with even more clarity here. Here, you're going to have to do gurachis plus chokek and lahashlim, because remember, the basket's not even 4 tvachim wide on its own. We're carving out halachically the area of the tree to make that width 4 tvachim wide. So you're doing chokek and lahashlim, and you want to do gurachis. Let's darufe kalkola bahada ilan. You're doing chokek and lahashlim in order to combine the width of the basket with the width of the tree. Vitarti lo amrinon. Rashi says you cannot do both. You can't say good achis and chokek and lahashlim. You cannot do both of those. You can only do one, and that's why in this case Rebbe says it's not going to be considered a rishus hayachid. So that's the distinction between the halacha of Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, and the halacha that Rebbe has. Now Rabbi Yirmiyah gives a completely different answer to why a basket is okay. Again, remember we said at the top of the page that a basket is fine because it's not really a rishus hayachid, even though it's 4 tvachim wide when you combine it with the width of the tree. But that 4 tvachim wide doesn't begin at the bottom of the tree, so it's not really a rishus hayachid, and that's why you don't have a problem with the eruv in that regard. Rabbi Yirmiyah says a different answer. Rabbi Yirmiyah says shani kalkola. It's different in a situation with a basket. Hoil v'yachol lintosa ulavia l'soch asar. He says a very big chiddush. Since in theory you could tilt the basket, you could bend it down and bring it within 10 tefachim of the ground, it is considered as if it is not above 10 tefachim from the ground. Now that is a huge chiddush to say that you can just say in theory, since you can tilt it, therefore it is as if it's below 10 tefachim. So that's what the Gemara asks here. Yosef Rav Papa said, "V'kamar lo shmaita." He said over this sugi. He said over this answer of Rabbi Yirmiyah. Eisvei Rav Bar Shava Rav Papa, and Rav Bar Shava asked Rav Papa the following question: It says, Keitzad hu osa. This is a Mishnah when it comes to Eruvei Tchumen. It says, what does the guy do? Let's say he wants to make an Eruv 2 days in a row. Case basically is you have Yontiv on Friday and then you have Shabbos immediately the next day. So the halacha is the Eruv has to be there at the beginning of Yontiv and it has to be there again at the beginning of Shabbos. So what should he do? Molicho barishon umachshechalav. He has to take it to the place where he wants to make the Eruv and sit there and make sure that it's there and make sure that the Eruv is good. V'notlo, and then he takes it. Uvalo b'sheni machshechalav yochlo. And then the second day he has to go to that same place and do the Eruv again, make sure it's there. He can't just leave it there because it might get taken away and then it's not going to be a good Eruv. Uvalo. Now Rashi explains, and we'll see Rashi in a moment. Rashi explains what's the kasha. The question is, really they could have asked from any case of Eruv Tchumen. There's nothing really special here about this particular Mishnah. But the point is, it says very clearly in this Mishnah that when you make an Eruv Tchum, you have to physically take it all the way to the spot where you want to make your Eruv. We don't say, well, theoretically, since you could have taken it, therefore it's a good Eruv. So that's what Rav Bar Shavo is asking. He's asking to Rav Papa, and he's asking on Rav Yirmiya's answer. He's asking, what is this idea of theoretically it can be moved? Theoretically, you can tilt the basket. We don't say by Eruv Tchumen, when you put your bread down somewhere, we don't say, well, theoretically, I could have put it in the right place, and that's my Eruv Tchumen. You have to actually physically bring it there. And again, that's just a general halacha of Eruv Tchumen, just that this Mishnah happens to be, it made it as the most clear. It made it as clear as possible that you have to actually take it there. Rashi here explains. Mesev Rav Bar Shavo, Keitzad uosa masnisini b'yontiv shelifnei haShabbos. Now we're talking about yontiv that happens before Shabbos. So yontiv falls out on Friday. V'rotzo la'arev l'shnei hayomim. He wants to make an eruv for both days. Keitzad uosa, what does he do? Molicho barishon b'erev yontiv l'sof alpayim. Right, he takes it there on erev yontiv, and then again he's going to have to check it again on Shabbos. Val yedei shlucha kamar. Obviously over here we're talking about a shliach is setting up the eruv. Di'ihu guve, because if the person himself is making his own eruv, he doesn't even need a piece of bread. He could just sit there. Below pasnami kani leishvisa, he can just sit in that area when yontiv starts. Kevin dehasam yosef, that's where he's making his residence. The kadesh alei yoma, that's where the day of yontiv started, where he was. Again, he takes it. If he just leaves it there, maybe it'll get lost. You won't have an eruv for the next day. Masnisin, as it says in the Mishnah, and then he goes on to explain there. Now, it says over here, Katani mihas. Rashi then explains what's the kasha. It says, the point is that it says in this Mishnah, that when you make an eruv, you got to take it to the area you want to make the eruv. Why do you need to take it at all? When he makes it as an eruv, he should say, even though I didn't get to the right spots, it's theoretically I could have gotten there. That's what we're saying over here, since you could theoretically bend the basket below 10 tvachim. Right over here, his eruv is sitting there in a basket in Rosh Hashanah. But in theory, you could tilt it. What is the difference between saying I could have tilted something or I could have brought it there? And Rashi says, now why do we bring this Mishnah? There's a million Mishnayos about Eruv Tchumen. We really don't have another Mishnah which talks about walking physically your Eruv as explicitly as this particular Mishnah does, and that's why we bring this. Again, that's why we bring this as our raya, and we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Lamed Dalid Amud Aleph.